ஆனந்த மோகன வேணுகான மதிலரை பாயுதே கண்ணா என் மனம் மலை பாயுதே நிலை பெயராது சிலை போலவே நின்று நிலை பெயராது சிலை போலவே நின்று நேரமாவதறியாமலே மிக வினோதமான முரளீதர என் மனம் அலைப்பாயுதே கண்ணா என் மனம் அலைப்பாயுதே தெரிந்த நிலவு பட்டு பகல் போல் எரியுதே தெளிந்த நிலவு பட்ட பகல் போல் எரியுதே திக்க நோக்கி என் உருவம் நெளியுதே கனிந்த உன் வேணுகானம் காற்றில் வருகுதே கண்கள் சொருகி ஒரு விடமாய் வருகுதே கண்கள் சொருகி ஒரு விடமாய் வருகுதே கனித்த மனத்தில் ஒருத்தி பரத்தை எனக்கு அளித்து மகிழ்த்தவா கடறி மனமுருகி நான் அழைக்கவோ இடர மாதருடனே கழிக்கவோ இரு தகுமோ இருமுறையோ இரு தர்மம் தானோ குழலூடிடும் பொழுது ஆடிடும் குழைகள் போலவே மனது வேதனை மிக ஒரு அலைப்பாயுதே கண்ணா என் மனம் அலைப்பாயுதே.
Welcome address. I deem it a great pleasure to invite Dr. P. Indumati, Associate Professor and Head, Department of Food and Nutrition, to welcome the gathering and introduce the guests.
Good afternoon to all. I deem it a great pleasure to welcome one and all present here. I extend a warm welcome to our chief guest, Dr. J. Bala Vijayalakshmi, Assistant Professor of Physics and IQAC Coordinator, PSGR Krishnamal College for Women, Coimbatore. I also extend my warm welcome to the faculty members of Menti institutions and our institution. It is my proud privilege to introduce today's chief guest, Dr. J. Bala Vijayalakshmi, Assistant Professor in Physics and also the IQAC Coordinator from PSGR Krishnamurthy College for Women, Coimbatore. Dr. Bala Vijayalakshmi is a learned professor and her qualifications are MSc, MPhil, PhD in Physics and MCA and MPhil in Computer Science. She has 20 years teaching experience, which includes 5 years as lecturer in Dr. GRD College of Science, Coimbatore, and 15 years as assistant professor of physics in PSGR Krishnamal College for Women, Coimbatore. She has specialized in nanotechnology and produced 8 MPhils and 2 PhDs. She has published 25 research articles in Scopus indexed and UGC recognized journals and 4 book chapters, completed 8 research projects, presented more than 50 research papers in national and international conferences and seminars. She has also organized more than 20 workshops and seminars. She is a reviewer in 9 journals, including Elsevier. She is the university rank holder in both UG and PG, and adding to the feathers in her crown are the awards she has received, namely Top Performing Mentor from NPTEL, Best Faculty Award from GRG Trust, and Certificate of Outstanding Contribution in Reviewing from Elsevier. Madam, we are pleased to have such an eminent person as the resource person for the IQAC organized workshop on need of data documentation for SSR preparation in the online mode. On behalf of the college management, principal and IQAC, I take this opportunity to welcome you again. Once again, I welcome one and all. Thank you.
Thank you, madam, for your nice words.
Dear participants,
Ma'am,
kindly fill the registration form in the beginning of the session and fill the feedback form at the end of the session. The link is posted in the chat box. Special address. Now, I call upon our chief guest, Dr. J. Bala Vijayalakshmi, Assistant Professor of Physics and IQAC Coordinator, to deliver the speech.
ma'am, am I audible?
Please proceed, ma'am.
Am I audible to you?
Yes, ma'am. You are
Audible,
audible.
yes. Are you able to view my screen now? Are you able to view my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
It's visible.
Thank you for the nice introduction and thank you for giving an opportunity to present before you. A pleasant good afternoon to one and all. Today we'll discuss on as we progress towards NAC for all the even Menti institution, probably you'll be going for the first cycle of NAC accreditation. What is the need of data documentation? Why there should be a data needed for our SSR preparation? So the plan of my talk will be what is the need for it? What are the highlights of 7 NAC criteria? How to capture the data and document it criteria wise and conclude the session. So when we talk about NAC, what is the NAC? Everyone is familiar with the National Assessment and Accreditation Council, which always a continuous process of accreditate all higher educational institution for just to know how that particular HEE performs for the quality status of the institution. So NAC assess each and every higher educational institution based on certain parameters, quality indicators are provided for the NAC, provided by the NAC for all higher educational institution to make the self-analysis of their institution. It is not mere only NAC is, because of NAC we need to do everything. Actually, we need to do our activities that will be measured and it helps us to assess where we stand. What is the quality status of our institution? So for that purpose, we need a NAC accreditation body which takes care of all the parameters. So when we are preparing a self-study report of our institution, what the core values, what is the evidence, what we need to concentrate. It's actually how we need to make our students globally competent and also how to inculcate the value system among the students, promote the technology usage, quest for excellence. Our focus aim should be based on these core values. In all our self-study report, both the quantitative and qualitative parameters are present, but more of 70% of quantitative data is there, which will be validated by DVV, and the qualitative metrics will be validated by peer team visit. So what are the key documents when we are start preparing self-study report? The main parameter, what are the documents we need to be having when we want to apply for a NAC? If it is a first cycle or all the cycles, they prefer these key documents to be present because initially before submitting SSR, we need to submit IAQA. So that IAQA, we need to upload certain documents for us to proceed towards self-study report. So in the case of when we are submitting SSR, before that, when we are going for IAQA, the latest affiliation letter for the current academic year with a copy of the application and the fee detail need to be had by the institution, and approval letter from the statutory regulatory authorities, and UGC 2F and 12B status of the institution is needed in the case of affiliated colleges. In addition, in autonomous colleges, we might be needing with all the two other more. This is since Menti College belongs to affiliated. I'm just focusing only on the documents that need to be submitted by the affiliated college to the NAC. So what are the highlights of NAC criteria? We have 7 criteria. Hope everyone would have familiar with the criterias. What are the 7 criterias? So in each criteria, what are the important highlights and how the data need to be captured in each criteria, which we'll be discussing now. So in the case of criteria 1, which mainly focuses on curricular aspects. So when we talk about curricular aspect, for the affiliated college, if the curriculum is designed by the affiliating university, but here we need to, affiliated colleges need to do only the planning and implementation. But in the case of autonomous college, they have the full liberty of framing a syllabus that has to be passed in Board of Studies and has to be done in academic council. But since in the affiliated college, the more focuses on curriculum planning and implementation, academic flexibility, curriculum enrichment, and feedback system. So when we talk about curriculum planning and implementation, so what are the data which need to be documented and which we need to focus when we are going for a curriculum? Criteria 1 in curriculum design and development. So in the case of criteria 1, where it requires planning and implementation. So in the case of planning and implementation, all affiliated colleges, the faculty who belong to affiliated colleges, whom they are going for the SSR submission, they have to have all the details about the academic council and the Board of Studies of affiliating university where they have a member, and they need to have the data of all the faculty members who are acting as a question paper setter for UG or PG program, and how they frame only the curriculum which will be provided by the university, affiliating university. But we can design and develop value-added courses basically for focusing towards our curriculum, which will enhance the skills of the students. So the add-on certificate diploma courses can be designed by the affiliating colleges so that we can enhance the skill of our student. So in each and every places, every criteria, mainly we focuses on quality. So what is the current need of the industry? Taking into account the add-on course, JOC or diploma has to be designed and they need to be developed in with industrial tie-up that will be more advantageous for the students to get placed. And also the assessment and evaluation process of the affiliating university will be taken care. So in the case of academic flexibility, how many programs which we offer in the institution which has choice-based credit system? So we need to have more focus, even though our syllabus is belong to affiliated university, where we can promote choice-based credit system. How many degrees can give with the choice valid choice-based credit system? That we need to take into account, because the parameter which focuses on choice-based credit system will have average number of degree programs which has focus on choice-based credit system divided by the number of programs offered by the institution. So we need to focus more on that aspect so that you can be having almost entire mark for that, because if we have a more focus on choice-based credit system which is provided across the programs, so that you can have the entire data as well as the mark for that particular criteria we can score. and also the number of add-on and certificate programs, how many number of programs we have designed and we have delivered, which will be acting as a value-added courses for our students, and the percentage of students who have enrolled in the course against the total number of students will also be taken into account. So all these details, whenever we introduce a new course, we need to document it carefully, because in due course of time, because it's a 5-year period, as we prolong, sometimes the data may be, you might be losing the data if you have not recorded properly, or the faculty might be leaving, or who is responsible for that may not be in a position to get the data. So we have to have established a system in our educational institution stating if any system or any course is introduced, this is the strategies which need to be followed. Everything need to be documented. You need to have the syllabus which should be approved, and or if it is well and good, if you have any MOU with the industry, and because it becomes adding values to your course which you are offering, and also how we are promoting to the students, and the list of students who have enrolled in that particular course, and also the what is the progress and how the certificates have been given. Everything need to be taken care. So in the case of curriculum enrichment, you will be having a coursework, the project work, how many students are taking a project work, field work, internship, everything need to be documented. Hope every institution have a project work in 3rd year, internship normally in 2nd year. So all these details need to be, anyway we will be collecting an internship report from the students, but we can create a template stating the name of the student, which industry she has gone for an internship, what is the period of internship, and who have guided, who is the internal guide, and how many days they have attended. All things have to be documented then and there. So if it is done periodically, you won't be feeling a stress at the end of 5th year. And more important thing is the feedback system, where we focus much on feedback on the syllabus and its transaction at the institutions. It should be getting from the stakeholders of that HEI. It will be normally collected from students, teachers, employers, alumni. Normally parents SOP, they have just not stating parents. And feedback is morely based on curriculum only. We can normally collect for all other things, but NAC more focus on curriculum. It will be collected and we need to analyze it and what action taken. Because in all the steps they have a different categories. A will stating that if the feedbacks are collected, analyzed, action taken, and available on the website. If we have all these options, we can go for a choice of option A. Option B is only collected, analyzed, action taken. Option C is collected and analyzed, and option D is only collected. So we need to try to grab only the best options. So all the institutions, since the purpose of collection is to know about it, so we need to analyze where we are lagging or in which area we are strengthened. That has to be analyzed, then only there is a meaningful in collecting the details. So we need to focus on collecting as well as analyzing, and what action, the suggestions given by the students or alumni or the teachers need to be taken into account. The action has to be implemented, and all these details, if it is available on the website, it is not only for NAC purpose, we can analyze ourselves where we stand. So this is with respect to criteria 1. In the case of criteria 2, teaching learning evaluation, which highlights more focuses on how the students are admitted in any institution. So they may more focus on student enrollment and profile, catering to student diversity, teaching learning process in the higher educational institution, teacher profile and the quality of the teaching in that particular institution, evaluation process and reforms done in that particular institution, student performance and learning outcomes, student satisfaction survey. This is the highlights, main important aspects in which the criteria have been segregated. So in this case, in the case of student enrollment, we need to focus more on demand ratio. How many applications received? In that particular application, how many have been admitted for the particular programs? So we need to have all the details. So each and every year we need to record all the details. So the template may be created for that. So if we can't feel will be tedious at the end. So you have to have, once the admissions are over or and during the ongoing time itself, in the completion process, we need to establish a data where we need to state which program, how many, what is the program code that every institution will have, and how many applications they have received, how many students have been admitted, what is the sanction strength of that particular program provided by the university, sanctioned by the university. Every template has to be, the template has to be created and it has to be documented. So then only we can calculate the demand ratio, even though it is not, because in your SOP, if you just see the data templates, it is sufficient if you have the number of seats sanctioned across students admitted. So, but previously we had of the demand ratio. What is the purpose of demand ratio? We can just know where we stand, what is the demand for that particular program, how we need to improve our program. We can make our own self-analysis. It's not done for NAC purpose, it's for our own self-analysis is much needed for to know the particular program, how the program is being, what is the demand for the program. In the case of seats filled against the reserve category, normally all the government colleges will be going for the norms of that according to the reservation category. But NAC focuses on if it is a private institutions almost, but still they have to follow 50% of the regulations. So once the admission procedure is over, we need to be taking care of which will be sent to actually university, all the details of reserve category, how the number of seats for earmark for that particular reserve category as per the GO of that year. So we need to document the data, how many students have been attended, that is admitted in the program, SC, how much ST, all the reserve categories we need to record it. We need to record all the detail then and there, so it will be very easy process for us to even submit AQR, Annual Quality Assurance Report. So if we need to establish a system in place, and in the case of teaching learning process, we need to evaluate the student because our classroom may contain of both the levels of the fast learners as well as slow learners. So we need to, even the curriculum is same for everyone, but the students who belong to slow learners, we need to keep them some remedial classes, or we need to keep motivating them. So each higher educational institution have their own way of implementing how to handle the slow learners so that they move towards the fast learners. So every institution need to establish a strategy of doing it. Some they follow the remedial classes based on their performance and their internal assessment, start providing a remedial coaching for them. And peer learning is more appreciated because as the fast learners are there, some institution adopts that. They form a group with the fast learners, they promote the slow learners to guide them. Periodical review is done by the respective faculty, or the faculty itself involve them for handling, that is for the slow learners, to make them understand and motivate them. And once they come out of third year, they have to become like a fast learners, imbibing all that, having the confidence in them. And they should be, apart from not only focusing on slow learners, fast learners, even though they advanced learners, we say they learn by themselves, still if we motivate, they can reach higher levels. So we need to assess the caliber of the student based on the learning skill, because each student have their own way of presenting anything. They have their uniqueness in them. We need to identify, some will be good in curriculum, some will be good in co-curricular activities, some will be extracurricular. We need to identify each student's their interests, and we need to promote them and motivate them towards that so that they'll excel in their fields. And in the case of teaching learning process, You have to, that is in the case we normally appreciate move towards student-centric approach. Previously, we were with a teacher-centric approach. Now we are moving with a student-centric approach. So in the case of student-centric, whatever the curriculum which we are delivering to the students, we need to, according to the syllabus which the curriculum we have, we need to plan the topics, which topics can be shared for experimental learning, which topics can be provided for peer learning, that is the participative learning, which particular course can be given for problem solving. We need to analyze each syllabus and topic of each particular courses. Accordingly, we can plan our way of delivery. Certain thing can be explained and you can ask them to do a way of participatory learning. So they can, if it is very simple, they can give a group discussion, they can provide as a seminar. And if it has to be an experimental learning, promote them so that they understand the concept and the reality. If it is in, for example, if it's a code paper, if it is that software, whatever that the participatory, that is the experimental learning, this must just not merely say how it processed, how it is done. If it is science oriented, the more experimental explanation, only not the theoretical explanation will help. Experimental explanation with the demonstration promotes them towards better understanding. So according to the courses which have been offered in our institution for each program, we need to focus on how the curriculum and how it has to be delivered, what is the methodology and tool adopted for doing it. And online resources should be more effective because we more now moving towards our online teaching, and almost all the institution during pandemic started providing entire lectures through the online. So we need to, all the faculty need to be upgraded with their latest technology. So various teaching learning process across that will be hands-on, field prep, lecture method, normal method of that, experimental learning, problem solving, and flipped classroom learning. You might be posting your material through the Google Classroom or any measures or any LMS you are in your institution. So that can be, you can have that particular, then you have an interactive session with the students so that the students can deliberate across that particular time. So seminars and webinars can be organized and motivate the students to achieve that. So in the case of student, another important highlight in your criteria too is we need to more focus on what is the ratio of the faculty and the students. So the student faculty ratio, and also the mentor-mentee ratio, almost it will be same. So how many students we have a faculty, that is more important and more valuable assessment done by the NAC in criteria 2. And also the qualification and academic profile of the faculty members, like percentage of full-time teachers against the sanction post. That is, NAC want to assess, is there any scarcity for our faculty members? Because once there is a discrimination between the sanctioned post and the, how many faculties are there might be a quality. Because if the faculty, instead of taking 15 to 16 hours, if they just take more than that, or 20 or 25 like that, if it goes on, the quality of that delivery gets reduced. So they are very keen that whether all the faculty members or 100% of the faculty post, sanction post have been filled, so that the quality can be ensured. And also they want to know the details of the faculty members who are full-time teachers with a PhD, and how many faculty have been experienced in that particular institution. They may have an experience in other institution for 10 years and they might have joined. But when we are submitting a self-study report, NAC asks only the faculty who in their institution, when they have joined, what is the experience of that faculty in that institution. And once the particular faculty joins the institution, we need to establish a system where we need to get all the details of that. So this documentation is very important, because suddenly certain faculty may leave the institution. That time we may not be missing certain details of PAN and even Aadhaar number they are getting now for the extended profile. So all these details we need to record it even for future purpose whenever we need to contact our faculty. So these details of data need to be documented. That is the name of the faculty, PAN, designation, year of appointment, nature of appointment, name of the department that normally will have. If there is not HR, even the departments to take the responsibility to ensure that all the details are being documented. And in the case of evaluation process and reforms. Yes, ma'am? Ma'am, can I continue? In the case of evaluation process and reforms, we need to see when the results have been declared, that is the last day of the examination and the declaration of the result. So the number of days from the date of last semester or end semester examination and the results have been declared. Since it belongs to university, normally what is the procedure? It's always a best practice to declare the results at least minimum of 15 days. And any students who feel that there is revaluation, that is when there happens to have a grievances because they are not satisfied with the valuation, in that case they can go for grievances. So how many appeared in that particular higher educational institution, how they want to go for revaluation, everything need to be documented. Even though we belong to affiliated unrelated university, what are the any entrance grievances that has to be recorded by the institution? What are the compliances they have? How many students have appeared for the grievances? There should be a grievance cell stating all the details that has to be recorded. In the case of student performance, certain institutions would have gone for outcome-based education, which is the need of the NAC insists more on OBE, where OBE insists more on learning outcomes, that is the program outcomes and course outcomes, and how the students have been attained this program outcome and course outcome. The attainment level of the student has to be assessed, mapped in accordance with the POs and COs of that particular program, and also the average pass percentage of the student, which will be calculated from the passed out students cleared, who have passed the examination and who have cleared this. So we need to keep focusing on all the students, how they perform their exam, how they take up their exam, what importance they have given. That can be achieved through mentor-mentee meeting effectively. So we can not only the curricular aspect, also the personal care, we need to take care of our students since in more of COVID, more students get depressed. So we need to keep taking care of them. Then only they'll be focusing on curriculum also. Since it's of more of online, we need to make our mentor-mentee system more effectively so that the students attain their pass percentages. So yeah, our institution values also, it also ranks we can secure more high ranks in universities. And another important criteria to aspect is student satisfaction survey, which is made online. Once the SSR is submitted to NAC, the student satisfaction survey will be auto-generated. It has been set in NAC portal. So once the HE submits their SSR, the student satisfaction survey within 2 hours it is started, and they'll be sending the mail to the individual students. So these are the parameters which they collect for student satisfaction survey: name of the student, which department, which category, degree, what is their ID, Aadhaar number or the mobile number, email ID, degree program. Email can be any mail of institution or their personal email ID. But we need to ensure before submitting the data to the NAC, we need to ensure whether that particular mail or working. We need to ensure with the students, because sometimes certain students give their mail ID, but it may not be operational. So we need to check with the students prior we are providing or submitting the data to the NAC to ensure that whether that mail ID is in working, or we need to ask them to check. And once we submit the self-study report to NAC, and within 2 hours, the auto-generated mail from NAC will be reaching the student. they'll be sending almost 1 month time is provided by the NAC for this self-study report, but it is actually 100 minimum based on the strength, 100 minimum response, or if it is, they'll be waiting for 2 weeks, and if they are not getting it, they again trigger, but it will be triggered periodically across the month. But the higher educational institution needs to ensure that all the students are responding for them. Even though NAC says even 100 response is more appreciated, since 50 marks is awarded for that, we need to keep ensuring that whether our students are responding, there should be a team that has to monitor whether all the students, because we may not be knowing that which student is getting it, because it is randomly sent to the student based on the data submitted to NAC. So we need to keep ensuring that whether all the students have responded. If everyone responds only, we are able to get the entire grab all the full marks. Otherwise, based on the percentage of mark responses provided and the details given, the marks gets reduced. So we need to be careful for the student satisfaction survey to ensure the mail IDs and keep properly encouraging the student and see that having a continuous interaction with the student to know whether the particular student have received the mail or not, to ensure that all the students are submitting their response to NAC. Criteria 3, which mainly focuses on research, innovation and extension, where in the case of resource mobilization for research for government and non-governmental agency, innovation and ecosystem promoted in higher educational institution, research publication and awards, and the consultancy performed in that particular institution, what are the extension activity, what are the collaboration done by the HED. So in the case of promotion of research, where the institution provides seed money, because nowadays all the institutions started providing a seed money to inculcate research in faculty. So they want to promote more research. So the institution starts providing certain amount to, so thereby involving them in the research, and based on that seed money, they start doing their project, and some successful project, it may be even applied across the government agency to get funding. So for promotion of the research, even the management of that institution provides certain fund, we call that as seed money. So we need to document the data, like which year, which teachers have been awarded with the seed money, what is that amount, what is the duration of that particular project, everything needed to be recorded. And we need to also have the details about the faculty member who have attended the national or international fellowship for advanced studies and research. So the teacher who have been attending, that detail need to be documented then and there. So it will be easy for us to retract the data whenever needed. And also the resource mobilization with the grant which have been received, we need to keep motivating our faculty members to involve ourselves in research work. So there should be some target fixed to the departments. So the department from the hierarchy, that is from the management side, from the principal of that institution, you may set a target for that each and every department, focusing on all these parameters. At least there should be one project from one department, either it's depending upon the department strength, we can promote the faculty members for their research, and based on the strength where we need to give of that particular department, the top management need to be just guiding the faculty member so that they'll be able to apply for the grants. And name of the principal investigator, year of award of that, what are the funds received, what is the duration of the project, all the detail need to be recorded once we receive the fund. Even when we apply the particular project to any of the funding agency, either it is a governmental or non-governmental, we need to have a template for that, and we need to record all the data. And we need to also have how many departments are involved in that particular project. Nowadays, we more promoting towards interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary approach. So the percentage of teacher or a department who have been involved in that particular project Even that detail has to be who is PI, co-PI, all the details need to be documented. These process we can do then and there in systematic way, so it will be easy for us to consolidate the data during the period of assessment. And what are the innovation ecosystem followed in our institution? How many seminars or workshop we are organizing for that particular research methodology, or it might be in intellectual property rights or entrepreneurship, skill development, because nowadays so our curriculum need to be planned accordingly with the skill development. So also we focus more on the seminars and workshops where you have IPR. All these workshop and seminar need to be segregated apart from our regular workshop and seminar which we organize for our curriculum enhancement. So this innovation ecosystem where it has been promoted through with seminars that has to be documented separately, and also how to create the transfer, that is you have to have an entrepreneurship Center for Research to be established. It's higher educational institution based on the number of years in progress. We need to set a goal for it, and each year we need to set an annual target for that institution, target for the department. And if we work periodically, everything can be achievable. And also institution, how many teachers have been encouraged to guide and for the act as a research guide. So who are the faculty with full-time PhD? What is the qualification? How many are the recognized guides? All the detail need to be documented, as well as how many students, scholars are there under each faculty member. So all these details need to be documented, because probably we'll be sending to the university, but we need to take that details and keep it in one place so that it should be centralized and easy to retrieve. So any publication, always the year of publication with ISSN number and ISBN number, but more focus is towards the UGC care list, irrespective of any disciplines. They give more importance for the UGC Scopus Index journals, UGC care list, whatever the publication which we are submitting to NAC. NAC mainly keeps track of based on the data which have been approved by the INFLIBNET. Even though we submit all the data, the NAC get the details for about the higher educational institution from INFLIBNET. They consider only those publications. And that publication, what are the details they are obtaining from INFLIBNET, that will be made available in the portal of HEE. If there happens to be any grievance that can be raised to the NAC, and almost they always take that what is the approved journal, UGC care list, that one, because periodically that is even though controversy that some UGC care list which will be in that journal would have been there in previous years, but it would have been removed when we are applying for that. But finally, what the INFLIBNET provide the detail that is actually accepted by the NAC. And we need to insist our faculty member that when we are providing the affiliation of that publication, very much faculty need to have an utmost care. For example, if it's your Vellalar College for Women or any Mentee institutions, the name of the institution when you are providing, there should be a space and dot, anything, how you want to establish your name of that institution. Utmost care to be given by the faculty member when they are providing an affiliation detail to the public publishers. So if there is a different spelling or different space, INFLIBNET may not fetch you the details of that particular institution. So there is a possibility of that institution to lose the credentials. So that credits. So we need to be careful when any faculty publishes, ensure that it has been provided in the correct college name. And in the case of book chapters also, we need to have how many book chapters are published by the teacher, and what is the name title of the book, what is the chapter, and what are the, if it has come in the conference proceeding, what is the ISBN number, name of the publisher. We need to establish a system, getting once the particular faculty goes for an on duty for any conferences or any papers are published, at least we need to have a practice in the department or in the centralized place to collect all these details. So when they are, after completion of their conference or workshop or any publication, once it has come, they need to submit that detail to the centralized place or might be presented as the data can be stored in the departments, because if it is 4 years, 5 years, we are able to, if it's a huge accumulation, we may not be able to, we may in a position to lose some of data. So we need to take utmost care. That's the reason what is the need for the data documentation in SSR is why it is important, because suppose we are not remembering certain publication or certain conference which we have attended and we are not documented, over a period of time, there is a chance to lose our information. So there is a very much need to document the details. So always any publications, that publication which is accepted by, as I said, InflibNet, only that detail is appreciated by the NAC. So they go for what is the Scopus in Web of Science, what is the H index of the institution is measured, what is the average citation index in Scopus and Web of Science or PubMed or Indian Citation Index, all these details, only the data from InflibNet is accepted by the NAC. And in the case of consultancy, the more focus is provided for the how much revenue is generated, and they also validate whether what we are applying for the consultancy, it's whether real consultancy, whether we have given some revenue is generated, and how what are the whom of the faculty have been involved in consultancy, and name of the faculty and the department, and also the project and the agency where they have done all these details need to be in which year, how many revenue have been generated, everything need to be taken into account. Also the amount spent on developing facility for training teachers for that, for example, if we are procuring any higher end model, how many faculties have been trained for that, and how many have been promoted for any research activity if they are attending a training program in any institutions, all these details. Because for handling higher end equipment, the faculty need to be trained, or there should be a technical persons to be given trained. So whom of the persons who are being trained for that, even that has to be taken into account. How many revenue is generated by consultancy for that, and just interpretation, if it happens to be any equipment, when it is science paper publications, the characterization techniques which we have taken means, in that case, what that consultancy is not just not taking a characterization, providing the detail, how the interpretation is done by that is more important. Only that interpretation results which you are providing is taken into consideration for consultancy. And also the important thing is an extension activity. This might be a strength of certain institution too, and how many students have been involved in the extension work. Normally, it's a good practice to make all our students involved in extension activities so that they know the importance of values. Nowadays, the human values, universal values that keep decreasing. So we need to inculcate human values among the students by promoting them to do some extension activities. So based on the extension activity, if any awards or recognition which we have been received by the institution or the faculty or the students, every details need to be documented, and it might be the award might be provided by a government agency. So in that case, what is the agency which have provided the award, what is the year of award, everything has to be provided, and how many extension and outreach programs, everything. If we set a target, it is easy for higher education institution to achieve it, that each department at least should have one outreach program or one extension program, one community program. Anything you have to plan of action has to be done by the particular department for that year in the beginning, and it has to be periodically reviewed by the management. Then it has to be acknowledged properly so that the faculty also getting involved in that all the activities. And in the case of collaboration also, who are the collaborator, which agency which we are collaborating, all the industries for either for the internship or project. Whenever we establish a collaboration with it is best practice is to have an MOU with that particular, and we need to see that whether that MOU are alive. And we do certain activities, either we might be sending the students or they might be training our student, any field work, all these things has to be focused, and all these detailed data need to be documented. How many functional MOUs are there? Because periodically you might be entering an MOU with one industry for a period of 3 years. Suppose that fourth year, it may not be, you may not be means if you're not again you can just revive that particular MOU again. Or suppose if you're not doing it, then that MOU cannot be considered in this period. And also NAC is very keen that if the MOU is established for 3 years, you can count that MOUs as only once, not 3 MOUs for 3 years. It should be counted once according to our SOP provided by the NAC. So we need to see one thing also, they also ask for the details or what are the activities performed under each MOU. So it is best practices to document that particular detail of any agency to whom we have entered into MOU. What is the activity performed through that MOU? How many students have benefited? And how many years that MOU stands for? Everything need to be documented. In the case of criteria 4, which focuses more on infrastructure and learning resource, it's more important in the aspect of criteria 4 based on the institution's infrastructure, physical facility, library as a learning resource, IT infrastructure, and maintenance of campus infrastructure. So in the case of physical facility, all the higher educational institution for teaching, learning, how they have spent, what are the labs, or if it is a computer departments are there, how many computers are there, what are the equipments procured, how many classrooms are Wi-Fi, LCD connected, how many smart classrooms, seminar halls with ICT facility, everything need to be documented. And they more insist on geo-tagged photo, what is this also. Whenever we record, we need to take an utmost care. Since the institution which is under Paramesh, we was going for the first cycle, any event, any activities they are performing, please take the geo-tagged photograph to ensure that the occurrence of an event. In the case of physical facility within the institution, that particular geotagged photos, they are ensuring in the case of criteria 4 and more of criteria 7 and few photographs in criteria 3, they insist on geotagged photographs to ensure the evidence that that particular event has occurred. And in the case of library as a learning resource, they want to have, and they want every institution to have an integrated learning management system to make our job easier, to promote more of library usage. How many students footfalls have been recorded in that particular library? Either it might be because of pandemic, you might be having either a physical presence might be difficult in certain institution. So how many, even online resources has to be made available for the students to access, so that the remote online access, even that can be considered, because the footfall NAC is more focusing on how many students make an effective utilization of library is taken care. How many students have been involved in that? They want to ensure that how many students have been involved in that. So footfalls need to be recorded. It is given for a period of 5 days in a particular semester. So during the submission of SSR, we can provide the footfalls taking into account of all the libraries. Certain institutions may have centralized library system. Certain institutions have, along with that, they have a department libraries also. But we need to take care all that accession have been maintained properly. All the department need to ensure whether the accession registers have been maintained for the library, recorded properly, how many students have taken book, so that all things can be integrated and can be provided as a record for the NAC. How many footfalls are present, that is we are very keen in that, how many students are utilizing the library effectively, and how many resources are available, how many online resources are available, how many books are there, e-journals are there, and all these things has to be recorded and it has to be available to the students for their use. So sometimes, but NAC asks, once we submit the data during the DVV process, NAC asks for any randomly 5 days of the library usage, like footfalls of the students. In the case of IT infrastructure, they more focus on e-content development and student computer ratio and IT policy, whether the institution has. All these details need to be documented. How many students, the date of, if any e-content developed, how many, which date it has been recorded, what is the link for the video, all these things has to be documented, and we need to see that whether it is functional and it is available to our students. We need to ensure that. And in the case of maintenance of a campus infrastructure, what is the expenditure incurred? Always we need all the audited statement, what is the system procedure, everything need to be taken care for the facilities. For example, if you have library, sports, computer, classroom, how it has been, everything need to be documented. What are the physical facility, what are the academic support facility provided to maintain the infrastructure of the campus. All the systems and procedure need to be in place, and that is validated by NAC. We need to have an established system, and that has to be submitted when you are submitting the SSR. In the case of, and also the audited statement is more appreciated in the case of criteria 4. So we need to document every audited statement which have been based on different aspects. It might be for creating an infrastructure or for the library book usage. So everything need to be highlighted, and we need to keep an abstract in the front of the page highlighting these are the highlighted colors. In these aspects we have highlighted, and that particular total need to be matched with our account statement. So it will be easy for the DBP person to ensure that all audited statements are in place, and there is no need for any clarification further. These are aspects which we need to take care before we are submitting a self-study report. In the case of criteria 5, which mainly focuses on student support and progression, just the NAC want to know what are the support we are availing to the student and how they progress towards the higher education, what are the activities they have carried out in the institution, how the alumni have been engaged in the institution for the various activities. So in these aspects, NAC want to measure our HEI. So in the case of student progression, where they more focus on how many students are placed in for the outgoing students, how many have been outgoing, how many have been placed. We need to take care, all these details need to be recorded by the placement officer of the department, or it might be a centralized one based on the institution, it differs. But we need to record the data, their offer letters need to be recorded, which is more important data, because sometimes we keep getting mail from the industry, and it has to be downloaded and recorded then and there. A folder can be created, some system can be developed, so that we need not keep checking or keep finding any particular student detail, because NAC, if the data is volume is large, DBB asks for certain selected students offer letters. So it's the best practices to have all the offer letters year-wise documented by either by the centralized way or in the department, so that any details can be provided then and there. And also how many students have been moving towards higher education, how all these details, once the student leave that institution, sometimes they may lose contact. So the best practice is to get their email ID, contact numbers, make them a WhatsApp group. Nowadays, so many media is available to make them active. Any faculty might be who is the class teacher may have been active. Once they keep updating, once they join the course or they're getting placed, they can give at least that information, and we can collect the information then and there, and it can be recorded. And more important thing, when our students go for any national or international like IIT, JAM, TOEFL, GRE, any exam, any competitive examination, NAC more insist on all the details. They want to have the hall ticket and also the cleared certificate of a NET-SET or IIT JAM. All these details they want to document it. So the students we need to keep track of and keep in touch with our students to get all these details. Otherwise, there is a possibility for us to lose the marks in these type of category. And also we should be clear with the percentage of students benefited by the scholarship, freeship provided by the management as well as the government or NGOs. All these details need to be taken care, and it has to be recorded. Because if we are not doing it periodically, because the government nowadays, since they make it online transaction, but still we get the details through the mail, that has to be downloaded and it has to be kept documented. And also if the institution provides some freeship for the students, that has to be audited. All these audited statement has to be kept in safe, because that has to be mapped with how many amount which we are giving, that all these details of the students, how much amount has been provided for them, everything need to be given, everything need to be documented. And also the student support, our student, we need to groom our student. So based on their curriculum, based on their program, we need to initiate, in general, overall grooming is more appreciated, it's more needed, it's need of that. So we start giving the soft skills training, life skills training, communication skill, and what are the latest trends, because everything now becomes a technology. We need to know the technology. Each student should be involved in that. So we need to keep promoting the students more towards the usage. They have to be very comfortable with that. So we need to organize more programs. So number of programs, and what is the career counseling which we are providing to the student, and for the campus placement, everything need to be taken care, and it has to be documented whenever it is needed. And in the case of grievance redressal, this is more important in any higher educational institution. Every cell which are functional, it ensure that the functionality, and we need to have the policy document of that particular segment. And more of grievance redressal is more important in all higher educational institution. We need to be thorough, any institution, what is the mechanism followed for addressing the grievance of the students, not only students, actually the faculty, everything will be accounted. But since the criteria 5 more focuses on grievances of the students, and what is the anti-ragging committee, who are the members, how it is functioning, any sexual harassment, all the minutes need to be documented, how many cases have been reported, how it has been addressed, all these details need to be reported. And in the case of student support itself, what are the participation or activities? Some institution may have an election, student forum, student union election, something is there. So based on that, how many students have been involved in the particular this, and how they participate, and they know that, and also the number of awards they provide, their achieving for cultural events or the sports events, all these details need to be recorded. If it is not done properly at final day, we may not be able to get all these details. So it is utmost care to be taken whenever the students just go for any event. We need to ensure that whether the students provide all the details in the department, that we can maintain a student achievement record, so that we'll be getting not for only NAC to know, assess the student capability and the ability of the student, and we keep motivating them to higher next achievements, so that students also motivated, and also our credentials is given, provided to our institution also. So when we need to keep promoting our students to involve in more activities, both internally or in the external forum also, and thereby we can groom our student and earn a self-confidence in them. And you have a student participation activity, where I told you, but students council should be there, and the student might be acting as a BOS member, but it is not applicable for an affiliated university. In the case of autonomous, the student representative might be there, and they'll be representing a student quality cell should be there, because any institution, it has an IQAAC, internal quality assurance cell is there. So but the more important thing under that, we should have a student quality cell which have a member from all the departments, so that they can voice over their opinion across whatever the difficulties they face in the curriculum, infrastructure, all these things. The transparency should be maintained. They have to be given a freedom to voice their opinion, so that it can be addressed properly, and students will also be benefited, and also the institution gets benefited. And also the alumni engagement, we need to keep having a contact with our alumni, and any promotion, appreciation has to be provided, and we have to have a close contact with alumni, so that our alumni might be a role model of our present students. They may be acting as an adjunct faculty for us, or they may provide internship. If they are an entrepreneur, they can provide an internship for our students, or they might be a member of BOS, or they might be, since it is an affiliated, then it might not be the case. But also the alumni engagement, how they financially contribute to groom our younger, current students, how they support any higher educational institution, all these details need to be documented. In the case of criteria 6, which mainly focuses on governance, leadership, and management, where we here more focuses on institutional vision and the strategy adopted by the management, and how it has been deployed across the institution faculty empowerment strategy, how many faculty development program which we are organizing, what is the financial management resource, how it has been mobilized, IQAS, internal quality assurance system, everything is the highlight of the criteria sets. In the case of institutional faculty empowerment strategy, we need to ensure that how many faculty need to be attend. We need to promote, or we need to make our ensure that our faculty have been keep updating in their curriculum as well as any soft skills, whatever according to their discipline, according to their program, how they have been doing. Everything has to be. We need to keep promote them. We can make our student, our faculty member to motivate to attend that. So the best practices to have a target each faculty to attend certain training program based on their field interest, based on their program or whatever they in their own pace. If they are giving that freedom to how they want to shape their career and be promoted, definitely the department as well as institution will have a better growth towards excellence. So how many programs or FDPs, how we are organizing within the institution also be taken care, and also how we are promoting the faculty member and to attend other institutions, FDBs, how they promote the faculty for the professional development, all short-term courses. We need to encourage the faculty member to take care of it. And also the vision and mission. Any institution values and the leadership mainly focuses on vision and mission of that institution and the perspective plan of that institution. How they participate, what are the plan over a period. It might be a 1 year or 2 year or long-term goal of 5 year or 10 year. Then we need to define the vision, and for achieving a vision, how the mission have been drafted, how it has been deployed across the institution. We need to take utmost care, and it has to be periodically reviewed. Then only there is a meaning and to define our vision and mission, and how it has been planned and deployed across the year. That has to be e-governance has to play an important role for achieving all our excellence in the institution. So all these financial and account statements need to be taken care, and effective welfare measure has to be there to ensure all the faculty members teaching and non-teaching, everything they have to. And also in the case of empowerment strategies, we need to promote, as I told, we need to promote certain targets can be fixed, and we can ask this faculty member to attend the conference, workshop or any training program of their own interest instead of compelling them to attend it, whatever the area which they are interested. If we motivate them, will also institution also benefits and the individual faculty also benefited. So these documents, once they complete the training program, that certificate, all the detail, everything need to be documented then and there. So it will be easy for us to consolidate. And in the case of IQAS, internal quality assurance system, and where we will be talking about each year annual quality assurance report need to be prepared and submitted to NAC. Nowadays, the format is made much easier because what is the format of SSR is followed in AQAR also. So in near future, probably this task will be made easier once we make our AQAR perfect. When we are submitting itself, we are involving all the details, everything is documented properly. Creating a self-study report at the end of 5 years may not be a difficult task. Previously, that AQAR format and SSR format is different, but nowadays, from 2021 onwards, the AQAR template is same as our SSR template. So each year we are submitting annual quality assurance report of that our institution. So it will be possible for us in the near future to make our self-study report much simpler. But we need to validate and verify the data which we are providing to AQAR when we are submitting itself, so that our SSR self-study report is made very easier. In the case of financial management and reserves mobilization, we need to have, because another important aspect of IQAS is audit. You have to have an academic audit, academic and administrative audit. Also, these external and financial audits has to be there, and audited statement has to be maintained. So all this audit detail is one part of our IQAS, where we, to ensure that the quality is in place, the quality sustenance is there in all our activities. And also they focus more on whether the IQAC organizes the regular meeting, whether they collect the feedback from the stakeholders, whether it is analyzed and it has been reported to the top management, whether the action have been taken. Everything has to be a transparent plan. It has to be done properly. And also participation in NIRF. NAC promotes all the educational institution to participate in NIRF ranking. And there should be a quality audit to ensure that our system is in place. So most of the institution are having an ISO certification of 9001 2015, which ensures that all our aspect we are making our system. It has been audited through an internal auditors probably twice a year, and with the external agency once at least, and there will be a surveillance audit at the end of every year and the recertification audit at the end of every 3 years, which ensures that our system is in place. And we have IQAC initiative. Each IQAC has to plan. Internal quality assurance cell need to make a proper planning in the beginning of the academic year itself. How many meeting has to be organized? How many FDP has to be organized? What should be the task of that particular year? And how it need to be channelized, in which area we need to focus according to that particular year, what is the need, we need to focus on that. What are the methodology adopted for that, and to make that to be, this everything need to be planned at the beginning of the year itself. And the criteria of 7, which mainly focus on institutional values and the best practices. Always they go for gender equity, environmental consciousness and sustainability, degradable and not degradable waste, because that importance need to be known by the students, faculty, everyone, all the stakeholders. Green campus initiatives, valid audit on energy and environment. NAC more insist on the energy, environment, green audits. Water conservation, because the student has everyone should, all the stakeholders need to know about the importance of water conservation. So what is the rainwater harvesting? All these details need to be documented. Human values and professional ethics. Even NEP now more focuses on universal human values and sustainable development goals. And what are the best practices of the institution? They want to identify the 2 best practices of our institution, and also they want to insist in institutional distinctiveness of that particular institution. Each institution has their own distinct way of doing certain things. So there should be a commonality of that is of which we are talking about, which that institution has, that has to cover entire student community. So we need to select certain topic of institutional distinctiveness which covers entire aspect of our student community. So in the case of gender equity, what is the annual gender sensitization? What is the action plan provided? Safety and security, how we have the common rooms, all these details which have to be documented. And more important, criteria 7 focuses mainly on geotagged photographs. So when any activities happen, that has to be recorded properly, and any institution which is organizing, they should have a practice that. So any event which is organized nowadays, all the institutions started doing it. They have a flyer now, because more of online mode now. They have a flyer, they have a CV of that particular resource person. We need to document how many have been participated, and we need to record the session, or some photographs of that particular activity has to be recorded. And also we need to give the report as well as the feedback has to be taken. So it's not only mandatory for NAC, it is the institution, if we have that as a policy, to know that. So any activity if we are organized, we can analyze that outcome of that activity, whether it is useful and how it can be improved, or it is the best, or what is the outcome from that, need to be analyzed then and there. It's not mere for NAC purpose, it's for us to assess our own institution. So we need to take much care of that. And what are the alternative sources of energy conservation measures there in our institution need to be recorded with a more of geotag photos, where NAC focuses more of solar energy, biogas plant and billing to grid, sensor-based energy conservation, use of LED bulbs. They insist either 4 or might be awarded A, or if it is in the case of B, a 3 or above, that is in the case of C, only 2 or 1. Based on that the categories, we need to select the appropriate option and the evidences need to be submitted on more of geotag photo. All the details need to be provided. So these documents provide you the full marks. That is, if we are having all the facilities of either 4 or all of the above, we can score full marks. In the case of degradable and non-degradable biowaste, every institution need to be taking care of solid waste management, liquid waste management, biomedical, because they have the lab, how they are treating that, how it has been, all the waste have been treated, how it has been diluted, all the mechanism that has to be recorded. Because nowadays we are using more of technology, so more of e-waste, how we are managing every waste management system, there should be a policy and procedure adopted. And if there is a recycling of water, what is the procedure adopted? And any chemical waste or radioactive material waste which are being used, probably institution may not be using, even that case certain chemical seems to be harmful, how it has been disposed, how it has been diluted, everything need to be recorded and it has to be maintained. And in the case of institutional values and social responsibility, we need to also have the water conservation facility. It might be a rainwater harvesting, because of that only the groundwater level increases. And all these bore well, how the open well recharge is done, what is the tanks and ponds are there, or how the water have been recycled, water bodies how have been maintained in that particular institution, everything needs geotagged photograph that has to be documented, and it should ensure that whether the geotags have been done perfectly, because sometimes there might be a possibility in that app when you are doing it, the location might be, so that we need to take care, ensure that whether it is the location in that geotagged photos are showing our own institution location. It has to be, otherwise it has to be, we need to fix it and we need to take the photograph. And what are the initiatives which we are providing for a green campus, how we ban our plastic, and what are the bicycle usage, thereby we are reducing our fuel usages, how we restrict the entry of the automobile, whether cooling of the cars we are appreciating. All these strategies need to be established or established by the institution, how we ban the plastic, and we ensure that our campus is plastic free campus. And we need to promote in quality audits of green audit, energy audit, environment audit. And also these audits helps us to know where we stand. In the case of green audit, how many trees, because it is everything is money for our own assessment. Because if our institution is full of greeneries, the emission of oxygen will be more. And in the case of carbon dioxide emission, all these are measurable, and we can ensure that we are in the environment, very good environment. It's very good atmosphere. This is not only the NAC purpose we should do, it is for our own assessing how we are, in which environment we are promoting, how the green initiatives are taken care, how the energy consumed. Because if we start using an LED or all these things, there is you can some of the powers can be consumed. So all these thing has to be considered in the case of energy audit also. So we can ensure that how the renewable energy have been utilized effectively. And also we have an institution has a disabled or friendly barriers for free internet. That is, all the institutions we need to ensure whether we have ramp or lift for disabled students, physically challenged students, and if they have washrooms and display boards and signboards or any assistive technology for the usage of that, we need to keep ensure that all these details has to be documented with the evidence of photographs to ensure the entire marks for that. And in the case of human values and professional ethics, students and employees of the institution has to have the values and rights, duties, everything need to be clearly defined and has to be followed by every stakeholders of the institution. And the code of conduct has to be provided in all the meetings and programs which we organize. We need to keep monitoring committee compositions, and all the minutes need to be recorded, and how we make a professional ethics program, how we imbibe the values in students and in all the stakeholders. That has to be more important. And what are the commemorative days which we are celebrating, even that has to be documented. Annual report of the entire event of that institution for that particular academic year has to be provided, and this should be taken with geotagged photographs. Only for that DBB consider all other events, the DBB rejects normally. So we need to record the events then and there, and that document is more important. Always we should have strategic planning, which makes our vision and mission to achieve our futuristic goal. So that can be done possible only if we have planned everything periodically. There should be a perspective plan strategically to be done so that all the targets or goals that can be achieved and we can march towards our success. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I call upon Dr. S. Saraswati, Assistant Professor and Head, Department of Commerce, to propose vote of thanks.
It is my immense pleasure to propose vote of thanks on behalf of IQAC, Vellalar College for Women. First, I would like to thank our management and Madam Principal to render their constant support in all our endeavors. Our heartfelt thanks goes to Dr. J. Bala Vijayalakshmi, Assistant Professor of Physics and IQAC Coordinator, PSGR Krishnamal College, Coimbatore, for her valuable guidance and speech. I take this opportunity to thank our IQAC coordinator, Dr. L.M. Sarlata, Head PG and Research Department of English, Vellalar College for Women, for her endless support and the members of IQAC team. I also thank the faculty members of various mentee institutions and our institution for their constant support. Thank you once again, one and all.
Thank you, ma'am.
The participants are asked to fill the feedback form posted in the chat box.
Any feedback, ma'am?
Ma'am, the presentation was very nice, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Any clarification is needed?
No, ma'am, the presentation was very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Can I leave the meeting, ma'am?
Thank you, ma'am. You can leave now.
Thank you. Thank you.